Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Word of Wisdom Wednesday. I am your host and the woman of wisdom, Theresa White, aka the Black Trauma Therapist. And I am here every Wednesday, or every other Wednesday, I should say, to give you a word of wisdom from my therapy experiences, whether it's from me in my aha moment, or my personal therapy experiences, or from a client or a person that I'm working with. So today I just want to just let it be said with my shirt. Let my clothes speak for me, right? This is the word of wisdom for today. So we ain't got to beat around the bush. You ever heard people say that statement? You ain't got no common sense. Oh, that's common sense. Or that's common sense. This is common sense. And you hear those statements over and over again. And I heard that growing up, with family members. Like, oh, they ain't got no common sense. I have learned, you all, as the statement that I came up with in response to that, um, is common sense is not always common. And I have people responding to my shirt today, and I want you to know that if you don't know, this is my shirt, um, my statement, and I sell these. If you want one, you can go to my website and order a shirt, www.endtimeccs.com. Shameless plug. Anyway, so with my statement, the statement that common sense is not always common, let me tell you where that came from. A therapy experience of someone talking about, them being told, that during their childhood, or and not or, but and a time where someone was saying it to themselves, like, that's just common sense. And I asked the question, as I have been told to be, the question therapist. I asked the question in response, well, then how would you have known that? Because they were talking about a childhood experience. They felt like they should have known it was common sense. I said, well, how is it common sense, or if you were never taught it? And is common sense always common? No. So what that means when I use that phrase and how it applies to the word of wisdom and the aha, I want you to think about when we use those statements, we're really saying that everybody should know this. Everybody changing a tire is common sense. No, it's not. Somebody had to teach you that. How to wash your hair is common sense. No, it's not. Somebody taught you that. How to put on your clothes is common sense. No, it's not. It's not common. It's something someone taught you, whether it was your mama, your daddy, sister, your brother, tying your shoe, how to clean your room. All the things you do today, somebody taught you. And so when we make the statement common sense, everybody, you should know that it's common sense. Oh, that's common sense. What it does to the other person who may not know whatever it is that you're saying is common sense, or someone saying is common sense, is leave people feeling like they should have learned something that they did not learn. And in any case, we all have been there. We all know what it's like to not know something and feel like we should have learned that sooner. Somebody should have taught me that. So imagine someone faulting you or bringing shame or guilt to you because you were not taught something. Now, hindsight, again, sometimes people read this shirt very differently than how I intended, which is okay too, because I knew it was going to be taken in multiple ways, which I love that about expressions of words and language, right? Sometimes it's like, baby, common is not common. Like, people were saying it like, no, that's so true. People just do not have common sense, right? It's not always common sense. People have taken it that way, as I've stated before with that statement. Things that you have already learned and that you are just not catching on to, or you're just not utilizing that skill. And it's something that is maybe a foundational skill to learning, again, ABCs or things like that. Oh, it's just common sense. What comes after L is common sense. Well, again, we were all taught those things. So I just want to encourage you as we talk about this last week of May, and with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, it's important for us to be aware that A lot of times the feelings that we have, the frustrations that show up, the sadness, can be because we did not know something. We were not taught, and we walk into a scenario or situation. A lot of times anxiety comes because I do not know. I do not know how this bill is going to get paid. I do not know how we're going to do this. And so anxiety, or what it is fear shows up. And it's really, once you teach me and I know it, that replaces the fear, because now I have knowledge. There's no reason to fear. I know it. When we doubt what we know, then we fear. And so that's why it's like, you know what? It may be common to you, but what's common to you, that's a gift for you that you understood it. Please understand and give grace that what you take as common sense is intelligence, and you learned it, and the way you process and understand information is wonderful. That's great. But everyone doesn't process, understand information the same way you do. And I've had to learn that through many relationships that I have in my life and have had, is that I was the one that would question, because I didn't always understand the information that was being given to me or outputted. And I would be like, what? And I will always be told, by elders or those who are older, that was always the joke of like, you ain't got no common sense. And at times I was such a literal child. I didn't understand what that meant. What do you mean? And then I questioned my own intelligence because I did not understand, which people, again, could make fun of that too. But as I learned and grew, I realized that I actually am very intelligent. I just understood things differently. I processed it very differently than maybe how they intended for it to come across. And I had to understand that what you thought was common was actually just something you never taught me. And instead of teaching me, you shamed me for not teaching me what you think I should have already known. And instead of using those moments as teachable moments to teach me what I don't know, what you would say is or what I'm saying, you universal, what someone would say is common knowledge, use that as a moment to be a teacher and teach them what you think should be common knowledge. Bring them into the fold of common. Let them be a part of what you would assume would be societal knowledge, that everybody in society knows how to do this thing, which we all know is not true. There's somebody who is still not knowing how to do whatever that thing is, and someone has to teach them. So before we go and give a judgmental statement, even in history of saying it over and over again, that someone should know something, we may want to take a pause moment and say, how did I find out about that information? Who taught me? Because I didn't just wake up one day, or I didn't come out the womb of my parent, my mother, and say, oh, I know how to do that. No, somebody taught you how to do that. So before we give a judgment to someone else because they do not know, mental health awareness, nugget, wisdom, principle, is give someone grace and actually pause before you speak and say what you think is common. Actually ask yourself, is this common? And even if it is, that means somebody may not have taught them. Let me be the person to be the teacher and bring them into the place of knowledge and take away sadness, fear, anxiety, or whatever can be the hindrance to them moving forward in whatever that knowledge is. So just want you to know that common sense is not always common. Sense, period. What you know because somebody taught you. And hopefully now you know what I have taught you in this Word of Wisdom Wednesday moment. And I'm going to encourage you, if you have not listened to the podcast this month about mental health awareness, it actually talked about the other side of Mother's Day. You want to listen to that because there's a lot of things, the same way with this shirt, that we don't consider, that we say, that we do, that can actually help, that can benefit not only ourselves, others, grieving process, and relationships that they are going through and dealing with, and wherever they may be in that process. So you definitely want to listen to our podcast. It's called The Proverbs of the Black Drama Therapist, and it's on Apple and Spotify. So again, I will see you all on our next Word of Wisdom Wednesday. Have a great rest of the week. Hopefully this helps you get over a little bit over the hump day. and get to the rest of your week. And just keep in mind, even at work, when you're thinking about, oh my goodness, you should know that. Well, just take a moment to pause and consider. Even if they don't know it, if you don't want to be the teacher, let someone else teach them. But telling them that common sense, they should know it, is not helping them get to that knowledge and that place of understanding. Teaching does. So again, speaking that word of them not knowing does not help them know. Teaching them do, or teaching them does help them know. Have a great week, you all. Thank you for joining again with the Word of Wisdom Wednesday, or our wow aha moment. Just wanted to share that with you and hope that you are blessed and able to use it to help you pause and consider your own gift of knowledge and understanding and processing that you have for yourself. Thank you again for joining. Have a great week. See you next time. Bye-bye. Common sense ain't always common. Common sense ain't